My name is Lucy Collins, 33 years old. That's me. I've spent most of my life playing the role of the reliable one. It's not because I love it. It's just easier to fix things than let them fall apart. And my family, they've come to expect it. My name is Lucy, and I'm the one who remembers the birthdays, who fills in when someone's too busy, who makes sure the fridge is stocked and the bills are paid. I work as a contractor, lifting beams, installing windows, and fixing roofs. When things go wrong in the house, I'm the one with the drill in hand, fixing cabinets or tightening a faucet. I've always had a knack for doing the things others can't or won't do. My husband, Charles Jones, is a project manager, and we have a son named Theo, who's turning 4 next week. He's the sweetest little guy, always eager to swim, even if he can't yet, and he thinks sprinklers are the greatest thing on earth. Then there's Sophie, my younger sister. She's 31 and a social media influencer with an impeccable Instagram feed. Her life is curated, polished, always in motion. It's like she lives for the likes. A week ago, Sophie texted me, "Don't come. It's for VIP kids only. Yours can watch online." She was talking about Liam's birthday party, her son, my nephew. She didn't even say hello first. No warmth, just that. And I paused. For a second, I thought it was a joke. But no, Sophie was serious. I could hear the laughter in her voice when she called to explain like a sneeze. "Lucy, it's a curated head count. We're doing a brand collab. The swim company, the photographer, everything. It's a vibe. Theo's cute, but he can watch the live stream. I'll send you the link." And that's when I realized I'd been played again. "How much did I send you?" I asked, even though I knew. I'd sent $3,700 to help with the pool. Sophie had asked me to help pay for it a few weeks ago, and without hesitation, I did. She didn't even say thank you. Instead, she said, "I need you to cover the gas bill. Can you fix the auto pay again?" The gas bill had been bugging out, or so she said. I stared at the text, "VIP kids only." That was my breaking point. I told myself it wasn't about me. I tried to let it go. But Theo, he doesn't understand. He's 4. So I told him, "Not this time, buddy." And something in me cracked. I'm done. I've always been the one to fix things. I've always said yes, even when it hurt. When Sophie called, I didn't argue. I helped. Always. There were the times she needed rent money when she first moved into her downtown studio, the times I paid for groceries, took care of the Wi-Fi, the times I cleaned up after her messes, both literal and metaphorical, and every time I thought it would come back around. But it never did. When Sophie and Evan bought their house, it was the same story. The utilities were a mess, some odd billing structure the previous owners had left behind. Sophie asked me to put the utilities in my name for a couple of months, and of course I said yes. I even set up the auto pay for her, sending her all the details so she wouldn't have to worry about it. She promised to reimburse me. She did, for 2 months, but by month 3, nothing came through. I asked her about it once, and she replied with a cute little heart emoji, saying, "Got you." Except she didn't. Then came the pool party. She asked for the $3,700 deposit, the pool gate contribution, the party. I sent it without a second thought. I even changed the password on the utility accounts again when she asked me to. But something shifted in me when I got that text from Sophie. VIP kids only. That was it. That was the line. I stared at my phone, holding my breath as I read it again. I had to do something. Sophie was always asking for help, always finding a reason why she couldn't pay her bills or why she needed money for another brand collab. I'd always given, always without hesitation. But this time, it wasn't about a brand deal. This wasn't about her. This was about me. I said nothing for a long moment. I looked at Theo, who was playing with his toy boat in the puddle outside. He was 3, innocent, too young to understand. But he felt the weight of this too. I felt my heart heavy with all the times I'd helped, all the times I'd been taken for granted. This was the final straw. I didn't care what anyone said. I wasn't going to let this one go. "Lena," I said to my husband, who was standing at the kitchen sink, cleaning a dish, "I'm not going to the party. I'm cutting her off." Charles looked at me, quiet for a moment, like he was measuring my words. Finally, he nodded. "You sure? It's going to get messy." "I'm sure," I said, the words solidifying in my chest. I've always been the one to fix things, but not anymore. I didn't answer Sophie's call. I didn't respond to her messages. The next day, I sent a text. We won't be there. Refund my $3,700 by Friday. Also, I'm ending the utilities coverage today. You'll need to put everything in your name. Her response was instant. She called me twice, but I let it go to voicemail both times. Sophie was upset, angry. I could hear it in her voice, but I stood firm. The family was always quick to pick sides. They called me dramatic. They always said I made everything about money, about spreadsheets, about rules. But the truth was, I was just tired. Tired of being used. Tired of being the one to patch up holes that no one else saw. The last message from Sophie stung. It wasn't just a cry for help. It was a demand. You're ruining everything. You're ruining Liam's birthday. This is just petty. Don't make me do this. But I couldn't hear it anymore. I looked down at Theo, who was holding his little shark towel. Not this time, buddy. It was all so clear. I've been giving too much. The silence after I sent that text felt heavier than any argument could ever be. Sophie didn't reply right away, and the feeling of calm was almost suffocating. It was as if the calm before a storm, waiting for the inevitable chaos to arrive. But I wasn't backing down. The storm came, sure enough. But it wasn't the one I was expecting. The next morning, my phone buzzed, and it was a notification about the pool party live stream, Liam's VIP splash. A glossy invite image, all pastel colors and shiny branding. The whole thing screamed influencer culture, like I'd missed a memo on how to be part of the right circles. But I couldn't stop looking at the text beneath the invite. Reminder, VIP kids only. Please be sure to tune in for the live stream at 10 o'clock a.m. I stared at it, my fingers freezing on the screen. The bitterness in my chest bubbled up as I thought about the money I'd already sent. Money that had gone toward this over-the-top display, this influencer nonsense. I had helped her build her brand. I'd chipped in for every little thing, every single time Sophie asked. And now? Now I was nothing more than a spectator in my own family's life. I walked out of the room, trying to shake off the feeling of everything I'd given up. My money, my time, my energy, and for what? Charles and I had already discussed it. He'd agreed with me, no hesitation. But there was a part of me, deep down, that still felt like the weight of this was too much. I checked my email. The utility companies had confirmed that autopay had been canceled. Sophie and Evan were going to have to deal with it themselves. The phone rang again. Sophie. I let it ring. And then another message. This time it was from Evan. You can't just stop paying the bills, Lucy. We have a partnership with a brand. This is going to look bad on us. You can't ruin Liam's day like this. I read the message with a laugh. It was all so absurd. This wasn't about a brand. It wasn't about partnerships or deals. It was about me standing up for myself, me saying no. I didn't even respond to Evan. I didn't need to. This was the point of no return. I had already given them more than enough chances. They took it all. And now they had to deal with the consequences. I looked over at Charles. He was leaning against the counter, his face unreadable. He knew what I was thinking, what I was about to do. I'm done, I said quietly, more to myself than to him. He nodded. I know. That night, the texts started to come in fast and furious. The family group chat lit up. My phone buzzed repeatedly as everyone weighed in. Mom, Dad, even my aunt, all sending their opinions, like they had any right to tell me what to do with my life. Lucy, you're really taking this too far. This is about family, not money. Don't let this tear you apart. Stop making it about the money. It felt like everyone had something to say, but nobody had ever asked me what I needed. They only came to me when they wanted something. I sat there, reading their messages one after the other until I couldn't stand it anymore. I took a deep breath and typed my response. I'll send a summary, then I'm muting this thread. I attached a PDF with every transaction, every detail, every bill I'd paid, every promise they'd broken. Pool deposit, $3,700. Utilities, $1,100, unpaid. Pool gate contribution, $450. Emergency plumber, $126.84. I included screenshots and timestamps, the receipts that were meant to show them exactly what they'd done. And at the end, I wrote, we were invited to watch Liam's birthday online because our child is not VIP. Please direct your requests for generosity to the sponsors. I sent it to the group. Then, without a second thought, I muted the conversation. An hour later, Sophie sent me a message. You really want to do this? You're going to ruin everything for Liam? For a few $100? I'm trying to build something here, Lucy. I stared at the message, but I didn't reply. The anger inside me had burned out, leaving only a quiet certainty. I was done. The next morning, the live stream started, and I watched Theo clap his hands when the screen showed the colorful pool setup. I could hear Sophie's voice in the background, trying to get the tech to work. She didn't know I was watching, didn't know I could see the chaos starting to unfold in real time. The chat was full of question marks. And for the first time, I felt a little bit of peace, because I wasn't in it. I wasn't part of her drama anymore. It wasn't until later that afternoon that the first ripple of what I had done started to hit me. The text came through from my dad, just after the live stream debacle had gone public. I hadn't expected it, but then again, I should have known. "Lucy, what's this about?" It wasn't an accusation. Not yet. But it was a question that hung in the air like a ticking clock. Sophie had already started spinning the narrative in her favor, painting me as the villain in this twisted family drama. I could see it all unfolding in my mind. Her crying to Dad, telling him how petty I was being, how I was ruining Liam's special day for the sake of a few $1,000s. But this time I wasn't going to back down. I opened my dad's message, read it twice, then typed my response. "The money is gone, Dad. The utilities are canceled. The pool deposit was never going to be used for anything but another show. I'm not playing along anymore. Not when my kid's not even invited to a party that I paid for." He didn't reply immediately. Then came the text from Sophie. 5. Back to back. "Why are you doing this? You're a terrible sister. This isn't even about money. It's about control. You're trying to ruin our lives. You're embarrassing us in front of our sponsors. I'm done with you, Lucy." I sat there reading them over and over. The anger I felt before started to boil up again, but this time it was tempered with something colder. Satisfaction. Because for once, it wasn't me running to fix things. It was me finally saying no. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. The conversation was already over. Charles looked over at me from across the room as I stared at my phone. He could see it on my face. The relief. The way I'd finally let go of all the guilt I'd been holding onto for years. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft. I nodded. "I'm fine. I'm okay." But the truth was, it didn't feel like I thought it would. I had imagined there would be a moment of triumph, a feeling of victory as I stood my ground. But instead, there was only a quiet weight settling into my chest. I'd never wanted to be the one to cut ties. I'd always been the helper, the fixer, the one who never said no. But the things I had sacrificed, the emotional labor, the unpaid debt, the constant bending to their will, had cost me more than I realized. It had cost me myself. That night, the family chat exploded again. This time, it was Dad. His words came in a series of sharp, disappointing texts. "Lucy, what you did was low. I understand you're upset, but this is not the way to handle it. Sophie is family. You need to put the money back." I read each message slowly, feeling the weight of them press on my chest. For a moment, I wondered if I had gone too far. Maybe I was being unreasonable. Maybe I should have just let it go. But I knew deep down that I couldn't go back to the old way of things. I couldn't let them continue to drain me, to treat me like a convenient resource, always ready to be tapped and used. I opened the family thread and typed a single message. "I'm not changing my mind. I've been helping for years, and it's never been enough. You want the money? Then you'll do the work to get it back. I'm done being your safety net." I hit send before I could overthink it, then muted the conversation again. The day drifted by, each minute slower than the last. I half waited for some dramatic fallout. I was ready for Sophie to call me crying, ready for Evan to storm over to my house with demands, for Mom to try to guilt-trip me into reversing my decision. But it didn't come. Instead, the silence stretched on, until 4:30 p.m. The doorbell rang. I didn't even have to look through the peephole to know who it was. Evan. I opened the door, and there he stood, still in his business casual clothes, as if trying to make this look like some sort of negotiation instead of what it really was. "What now?" I asked, crossing my arms. He set the invoice down on the doorstep. It was printed, official-looking, half of the party cost, like a slap in the face. "You can't just stop paying the bills like that," he said, his voice strained. "You're embarrassing us, Lucy. The whole family's talking about it." I stared at him, my emotions a roller coaster, anger, confusion, something darker I couldn't name. But I wouldn't back down, not this time. "Get off my porch," I said flatly. "I'm not giving you a penny, not for this ridiculous stunt you've pulled." Evan glared at me, his jaw tightening. "You'll regret this. You think it ends here?" "I'm not the one who started this," I replied, keeping my voice steady. You're going to need to sort your own mess out. He took a step toward me, then paused, like he was considering if he wanted to escalate this further. But Charles appeared in the doorway, his presence calm but firm. "Evan, leave," Charles said quietly. Evan glared at us both for a moment, and then, without another word, he turned on his heel and walked away. The door clicked shut behind him, and I felt the tension slowly begin to ease. Later that night, the emails started to trickle in, apologies from extended family, half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. Some of them even offered to pay their share, as if they could buy their way back into my good graces. But there was nothing left to fix. Nothing left but to walk away. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could finally breathe. I didn't have to fix everything anymore. The days following the showdown felt strangely normal, like stepping into a new routine that had been waiting just beneath the surface. The chaos was over, but the weight of it still lingered in the quiet moments. I expected the fallout to be loud, messy, even dramatic. Instead, it was calm, like the eye of a storm. That afternoon, Theo came running through the house with a huge grin, holding a toy truck in his hands. "Look, Mommy, I build big," he said, setting it down on the floor with the kind of untainted joy only a child can manage. I smiled, picking him up and hugging him tightly. The simplicity of it, the purity of those small, everyday moments, hit me harder than I expected. I could feel the tears behind my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. There was too much to process, too much to untangle. Charles was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone, when I walked into the living room with Theo. "Everything okay?" he asked, setting the phone down and looking at me with those familiar, knowing eyes. I nodded. "Yeah, it's done, finally." But his expression softened. "You sure about that?" The question hung in the air, like a thread just waiting to be pulled. I paused, my mind racing through everything that had happened. The bills, the arguments, the weeks of feeling like I was always cleaning up someone else's mess. "I don't know if I'm sure, but I have to be," I said quietly. "I can't keep pretending to be everyone's solution. I've been drowning in their problems for so long, and I've been okay with it, up until now, but not anymore. I don't think I'll ever feel sure about cutting people off, especially family. But I can't go back to being the one who fixes everything for them." Charles nodded, understanding the unspoken weight of the words. "You've been carrying it for too long. We both have." The next morning, the emails came. There was one from Dad. It was short, to the point. "I don't agree with how you handled things, Lucy, but I understand why you did it. Family is supposed to help each other, but boundaries are important too. Just don't shut us all out." I stared at the screen for a long time, feeling something like a deep, reluctant sadness settle over me. The words were an olive branch, but it didn't feel like reconciliation. It felt like resignation. I didn't respond right away. Another email arrived from my uncle. This one, I knew, would be different. "Lucy, I've been talking to Sophie. I know you're upset, but I want to remind you that family comes first. I understand why you're doing this, but I'm afraid you'll end up alone. You don't want that, trust me. Please reconsider." That one hit a little harder. I sat at the kitchen table, the weight of my choices pressing against my chest. My uncle's voice echoed in my head. "You'll end up alone." Was that what this was? Was I really willing to sacrifice everything just to stand up for myself? I didn't have an answer. I probably never would. But I knew one thing for sure. I was tired of being the one who always said yes. By the end of the week, the refund for the pool deposit had arrived, $3,700. Exactly as I had requested. Sophie sent a short, curt text confirming the transfer with no explanation, no apology. I didn't need one. The money was no longer the issue. The issue was the realization that she only reached out when she wanted something. That's all it ever was. When I looked at the bank statement, I realized that this was the last time I'd be making that deposit into her life, the last time I'd be the one to clean up her mess. But I also realized that the last step wasn't in getting the money back. It was getting myself back. A few days later, I picked up Theo from daycare. He was holding a drawing, a scribbled mess of colors and shapes. "Look, Mommy, it's you," he said, handing it to me with pride. I smiled, taking the picture and staring at it. It wasn't perfect, far from it. But in a strange way, it was everything I needed. The lines were messy, the colors clashing, but it was real, just like me. I crouched down to his level and hugged him. "Thank you, buddy. It's beautiful." Charles stood at the door, watching us. He didn't say anything, but there was a softness in his eyes. He knew, just like I knew, that I was finally starting to breathe again. The next few weeks passed quietly. I didn't hear much from Sophie or Evan, and honestly, I didn't expect to. I didn't need their drama, their constant demands, or their inability to see me as anything other than the family fixer. They were on their own now, and I was finally free of that weight. One morning, as I sipped my coffee, I scrolled through the family group chat. It was mostly passive-aggressive comments now. Sophie's posts about her brand, her family's achievements, and how perfect everything was. I didn't care anymore. I'd been so absorbed by their problems for so long that I forgot what it was like to just live. The text that stood out came from my aunt, the one who had always been quiet. "Lucy, I know things have been hard. You don't have to fix everything, but you do deserve peace. You're not alone, even if it feels that way. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." I sat there reading her words, and for the first time I felt a weight lift off my chest. Peace. It had felt impossible to grasp for so long, but now I could feel it settling inside me. The next time I saw Sophie, it wasn't an argument. It was a quiet meeting in a coffee shop, one where I didn't need to say anything dramatic. I didn't need to demand anything. We sat across from each other, and for once, there were no harsh words. Her face was tired. She looked like someone who had been playing a game for too long. "I'm sorry, Lucy," she said quietly. "I didn't realize how much I was asking of you. I took you for granted." I didn't respond right away. I just nodded. "I know." And that was it. It wasn't an apology that healed everything. It wasn't some magical moment of closure. It was just a recognition that we were both in different places now, and maybe it was time for us to accept it. That night, as I tucked Theo into bed, I leaned down and kissed him on the forehead. "I love you, buddy," I whispered. He smiled up at me, the sleepiness in his eyes. "Love you too, Mommy." And for the first time in a long time, I felt the truth of those words settle into my soul. I wasn't fixing anyone else anymore. I was finally fixing me.